let's just pop this out of the way real quick. What is up, sad boys? How are we doing today? We're taking a little trip back. We're going 15 years in the past. So if you are a teenager, this is probably before your time. And if you're not a teenager, I talk about a lot of music on here, a lot of bands on here, trying to discover what works, what doesn't work, like these sunglasses. I'm finding that some of these albums may have been presented in a certain way, may have had an air of authenticity back when they debuted, but upon reflection, upon hindsight, they seem to have lost the magical facade that glistened in the sun like a shining diamond in the rough. On the flip side, however, I am finding that the records that do stick with me, when I go back to visit them, they remain a part of me because they were so strong and authentic to begin with. I will dare proclaim that Tegan and Sara's The Con is perhaps one of my favorite albums, if not one of the best Boehner fucking folk jams you could possibly get your hands on.
I'm buried in the sun. Tell me where. Against the
Tegan and Sara is a Canadian folk electronic pop indie rock band starring two sisters, Tegan and Sara, identical twins, 4 full fucking albums before The Con, ranging from plucky guitar strumming folk music to full-on compositions, bass, drums, guitars. The music before The Con is really good, if not stripped down. But the qualities, the writing qualities about them really make them stand above a lot of juvenile efforts from other singer-songwriters. Now, when we get to The Con, something had changed. They were going through a rough time. I mean, we all were. We were in the latter half of the Bush era, and we were heading towards complete and utter housing and economical ruin. But Obama was there. There was hope. But they're Canadian, so I don't know why Obama would really matter to them. Apparently, at the time, Sara was struggling to get an immigration status for her American girlfriend trying to live in Canada. Tegan had just gotten out of a 5-year relationship, so they were both in kind of a place. It's more atmospheric. The production on it is thicker and more pop, indie rock-like than their previous offerings. This is them fully representing the scope of their musical powers. There's a couple ways one could open a record. You can go off the bat as big, we're gonna play as hard as we can, and then you in the crowd are gonna lose your fucking minds. Or we can take an understated approach. Let the viewer sink into the records like a hot tub jacuzzi, and then maybe later we can turn on the jets, which seems to be the approach that Tegan and Sara take with this first song. I believe it is a Sara track with a little bit of playful backing vocals. I always enjoy the back and forth. I enjoy when one vocalist can complement another, and then they're working together to create melodies and sounds that one person could not really pull off on their own. The story seems to be a tell about a person being married, getting married in the sun amongst buildings that are older than them, something that has stood longer than they could ever stand, something that will outlive them, outlast them, and she can't help but feel the conflict of time and other magnets pulling you to people. You can't help but feel like a magnet being pulled all around you, especially in the times that your context, your connection, your strength needs to be the strongest. A second of hesitation, intrusive thought of doubt. Now we look up into those eyes of bullies breaking backs. They seem so very tough. They seem so very scared of us. I look into the mirror for evil that does not exist. I don't see what they see. The ones around us that vote against us, the secret hatred and thoughts and wishes for them to not be together. I look into the mirror for an evil that does not exist. because evil in general does not exist. I don't know if they subscribe to that same thought process, but for me, good, evil, these are children concepts. I'm an adult. People are people. Actions exist. Intentions exist. But evil, I think it's an interesting concept to look at humans as sort of magnets, either like attracting or repelling. The song itself is very atmospheric with a very lulling bass line, harmonies that are sort of comforting you, even though there is a discomfort in what we're singing about and the vulnerability being presented. There's still a cooling, calming factor to the music they're playing.
I miss you now. I guess like I should have missed you.
Similar to I Was Married, Relief Nets Me has Sara slowly pulling us into the song. We open slower, moodier again, but this time there is a plucky acoustic guitar that gives you a little bit of that folky feeling. Every instrument sounds like it was specifically crafted to sound and be played exactly how it is on the record. It feels like Tegan and Sara are fully crafting into the best of their capabilities and not really concerning themselves with how it will come across. When we get to the second verse, the second time we come to the I tell you now, I guess like I should have told you then, there's more guitar work in it. The drums seem more forward. Now we're a little more energetic. So when we get to the very end, when we go very big for the I promise this, it sounds like a grand declaration, not just to the person they're talking to, not just to themselves, but to the world. We all have needs. We all have wants. Maybe this connects to her feeling like a magnet being pulled away from the person she wants to be with most. Why are we barking? And now we come to our first Tegan song, The Con, the title, signature track, The Con, with even more acoustic guitars working their way into the mix, into the production, brightening it up. I think what one can say is that Sara thus far is better at painting a story, painting a situation, and metaphorical imagery that comes with those situations and the complex emotions, where Tegan is much better at creating those pop hooks and those emotional hooks that connect with you and make you want to sing as well as feel the core of what is being presented. Like the music is poppy and they're purposely trying to create hooks and melodies that get stuck into your mind and heart, but there is a sense of genuine feeling and love behind it. She hears or witnesses maybe talks that she shouldn't be a part of, something that could be about her and her relationship. She's guilty of this, so she broke down, wrote a letter, tried to connect to you, then decided to play it off or present it as a notice to leave. I know you're leaving, that's why I have to go. Bye. Aspect that I appreciate about Tegan's writing is sort of the cheeky self-reflection. How I can be honest about who I am and the problems I have, but it can also be a little wink wink. Very much like the I feel like I wouldn't like me if I met me. Well, of course you should try and be a person that you like, a person that you would want to be around, but how many of us would actually want to be around ourselves if we met us? I currently annoy myself. I'm annoying myself right the fuck now because I can never just shut the con feels like Tegan making a case why she's the con. Like the con is pretending to be emotion, pretending to be this wreck for this person, or they're the emotional one, but you want to be the emotional one. And it's this tug and pull. It's this thing that we do with each other in relationships, conning each other in and out of love to fulfill some sort of need within ourselves that is not being fulfilled somewhere else. This is emotional honesty. And I think being able to intellectualize, being able to just talk about the songs this much, for there to be this much in the music to speak about, speaks grander about these two as artists. This album's funny because it's like every song on here was at some point my least favorite and my most favorite track. A lot of songs I found obnoxious or didn't really connect with me at first would come around, get stuck in my head, or would just hit me in a place where either I finally realized it. Knife Going In is a deceptively interesting song. There's this growing tension in it, in the way that the guitar is plucked and the driving drum beat of it feels like we're coming to a head with all these emotions and the struggles that we've been having in the previous songs. If I don't recover, sell this house and find something lost outside your window. Not forever, but on the night I die, I swear I'll sleep outside your window. There's kind of a growing resentment and anger behind it being represented by this knife going in. A relationship rarely dies quickly. It's usually a long, drawn-out process, very much like a knife going in. There's also the imagery of being stabbed in the back, something being betrayal. Maybe you're listening in on it. Maybe you get an idea of what's going on. Maybe you're a magnet being pulled to other people, and the knife is another magnet. Well, the knife is metal. Knives are metal, and if you're a magnet, then... I also appreciate how none of these songs outsay their welcome. 2 minutes, 10 seconds, you get the hooks, you get the verse, you get the melodies, you get the harmonies. It's all there, and it doesn't feel shortchanged. And if they were any longer, then I would feel like Tegan and Sara would start to feel a little repetitive.
I've been doing circles, I'm taking, I'm yours, I'm...
The way she plays through it, the way she's seen through it is so incredibly effortlessly that it's hard to keep up with it. But the emotional turmoil that comes with Tegan's vocals being taken over by the I feel so from Sara feels like an internal battle. There's a pressure that's building up throughout this song, and even though it sort of feels like an interlude, it's a really cool placement in the middle of the record to sort of transition you into the latter half, where we start getting a little more creative and a little more outside of our comfort zone, but not before we hit probably their biggest song ever written. Me and Back Into Your Head have a long, historied relationship. It's a song that I've enjoyed, that I loved, and I've also been annoyed at, much like the relationship being presented in the song itself. I will say, though, if there's any doubt that these two were queer icons, I give you example A and example B, the double lesbian mullet bane combo. A look that may graze me one day when I feel the security for it, but the power that comes behind it gives you a sense that these are cool fucking chicks, and they happen to be going through a little bit of turmoil, so I feel for them. This song is a little bit annoying, and I think that's on purpose. I think it's supposed to be obnoxious. I think it's supposed to get stuck in your head. It's to give you that feeling of a person trying to vie for your attention, a person trying to pull you back into a relationship you may not want to be a part of. And you're either the nagging protagonist trying to put yourself back into their head, or you are the receiver of that antagonism to be placed in your head. Regardless, this song will get stuck in your head, and regardless, this song will remain with you.
All I need to hear is that you're not mine, you're not mine.
I love that this album feels like she literally walked into the studio after the breakup and fucking threw it down on the track. This is a little punkier offering and the last offering on our first half. I like to think of albums as two halves because I like to think of the album experience as a whole. It is the most energetic punk rock song that they have made so far. The way that Tegan's vocals just bounce over the music hits it perfectly. It's almost ska-like in the bounce that it has, but the lyrics are never distracting or never losing sight of this core message of destructive, counterintuitive relationships that we force ourselves to be a part of. Those feelings where this isn't working out, I'm regretful, I feel a little intense towards you, maybe a little resentful, and you need to come here and make it right. But at the same time, I don't want you to make it right because I want to move on. I want to move past this. So all I want to hear is that you're not mine, that you have moved on, because I feel like maybe I can't move on until I see you move on. And I know there's no chance to resurrect the relationship that we have, regardless of how much we try.
Oh, and I'm feeling directionless, yes, but that's to be expected. And I know that.
Channeling 70s music with the whistle, synth in the background, a melody that sort of sounds like a nursery rhyme with lyrics that are self-reflective and self-revealing about how I just need you to save me. Just tell me you'll call and I won't answer any other calls. Too scared to be the emotions that I'm feeling, and I feel like I need you to interact or interfere with me. This constant like falling through the lyrics, this trembling down. I almost get an image of like Alice in Wonderland falling through the hole. It's just a hole in the ground, isn't it? She falls through a fucking hole.
Tell me that you know another way to get it done. It's not me.
I hate that these videos are always so long, but there's just always so much to discuss. It's weird how when you find things that genuinely make you happy and make you want to talk and share with people, that there's a never-ending supply of things to share and talk about. Burn your life down. Sounds almost like a threat. Like, is that what you're gonna do to me? But it's Sara acknowledging that their relationship, either she did it or her partner, burnt their life down. But it's time to get back together. Maybe I'm losing the friends, the job, the place that I've come to feel comfortable in. Maybe it could be something else. This song isn't my favorite, mostly because it sounds dreary, but it's in conflict with that upbeat melody, kind of creating a contradiction within the music, which may be reflective of the contradiction that she's feeling. It's just not my favorite to listen to, especially after Soil break my heart around this pole. Oh, that's sad. Those moments where you think you're gonna die, then you unexpectedly see the face of the person that you're going through a terrible breakup with, recontextualizing and reinforcing your feelings of wanting to be with them. And then the sobering realization that you didn't die and you're still in the same situation that you were before, but now your entire life has flashed before your eyes.
I felt you in my legs before I ever met you.
When we talk about the big songs from this album, Back Into Your Head is the one that sold it. The Con is what made people love it. And 19 made it rest eternally into your soul. You are a very different person than being 19, freshly out of high school, new in the world, thinking that you have hope and optimism and that the future is ahead of you. This song grates on me a little bit. Like, the chorus is on the verge of just like being too much, but I think there's enough restraint in it to keep it emotionally back. Like, she could go bigger on it, but we're holding it back as like a mature reflection. Like, I was 19, there's anger behind it, there's resentment for your past choices, but you also can't really be that angry at your younger self. The music slows down and we harmonize with Flew Home, back to where we met, stayed inside, I was so upset. I cooked a plan, so good except I was all alone. You were all I had. She's looking into herself, reflecting upon the relationship, reflecting upon the moment she had. Even though these songs are so specifically speaking towards her situation, it is still universal enough in the pain that it feels, where it's like, if you know it, you know it. And if you've been through this, if you felt this emotional vulnerability that Tegan and Sara is representing, then this shit's gonna connect to you.
I know I hold this lost and all forever. I know.
Four-Plan feels like the best meshing of their older original sound and this newer, more mature sound that they're presenting on the con. It's a folky, downplayed guitar acoustic song with simple lyrics, simple melodies, at least more simple than what we've been seeing on this record so far, but they still work in parts that feel only appropriate on this album. The way that she hits pressure and she like lets it out feels so specific to just how they're performing and how it's being produced on this record. All eyes are on me now. Everyone's looking at me like I am the one ruining this. Like I'm the one breaking us up and I really shouldn't go, but I can't help it. Like I have to leave. I have to just get out of this situation and away from the people that are around me. It's not starting over. It's just different. And I shouldn't go. I should embrace the people that have helped me. I should embrace those around me. But I can't help it. I know. I hold this pain in my heart forever. You think it's easy. You think like I go this way, you go that way, but you're entangled. You're fucking entangled, bruh.
Sugar, spell it out like
If Four-Plan was the most representative of their older sound, then Like Age is the most representative of their newer sound. The hook seems to be at the forefront over sense or emotion. Like I said, there are a lot of things on this record that don't connect with me. The things that have consistently stayed with me, the songs that have consistently stayed with me, mainly the first half of this record, is almost perfection. Almost absolutely every note, every moment, I wouldn't touch, I wouldn't change, I wouldn't want any other way. When we get to this back half though, it almost feels like they're running out of ways to represent this emotion, or they're just playing around with some ideas without really a full-fledged song behind it. But I know that's not really true, because Like Age is one of the main songs on this record. Originally, they were going to name the record SOS, and they even referred to it like H at some point. It's almost too abstract for me to feel it. I don't know what means. I don't know what it means. I know there's something going on with the way she was raised. She's looking back at her childhood and how her mom is reflected in that, and what her mom says to her or what she needs from her. Take the hinges off my door. Like, she can't be alone. So sugars, just spell it out. Tell me what you need for me. I believe this line is supposed to be from the perspective of the mother. I don't know if it's supposed to stand for something, if it's an acronym, if it's like in place of something else. I want to say it's like suicide ideation, but Tegan and Sara isn't really that dark to plainly state it. I would personally be fine if Like Age was taken off, but I also understand if it is essential to the artist and the fans.
dark. You can't come soon enough.
I want death to come soon for me and save me from one more day of misery. I may not do it myself. I may not push myself to that place, but fucking just come, baby. I'm ready for ya. Don't forget A Million Miles for Me, Safe and Another Day Passed by Me. Everything I love, get back for me now. So what I lied to me too. Maybe touring, getting out of town, getting away from all those eyes that are on you is not the best thing for you, that you need to be home. This is the darkest point on the record. They give you that dark feeling by bringing in more 80s like synth, a little darker synth board on the backing track. It's this fun poppy play within this dark moment. Now, even though this is the darkest song, there's still kind of a bouncing joy to it, and it doesn't necessarily make you cry every time you hear it. A perfect setup before we close out a near perfect album. And here we are. We brought it all the way around. We started the record off by saying, I was married. I was married once. Tell me when, tell me where. Telling this tale about how it was broken off, how it was called off. We get the emotional turmoil throughout the songs. We learn about one another, how they viewed each other in the relationship, how they treated each other in the relationship, how they're treating themselves after the relationship. They're feeling in hatred and resentment. It feels like we were given the climax of the film, and then we went back and went through everything that got to it. And like 19 was like another flashback to like the past. And then we hit the present with Call It Off. Like every song before this was a reason or contextualizing the decision for her to call off her own wedding. Maybe I would have been something you would be good at. There will always be a part of her that wonders if the relationship would have been better, if they would have worked on themselves and become the wife that they needed to be. But for whatever reason, our protagonists, be it Tegan or Sara, didn't feel like the person they're with or themselves were ready to work, to grow, to better themselves in order to maintain this marriage, conning herself out of a chance of being happy. The con that we play on ourselves to work at a relationship, to build each other up. A little cynical, a little sad, also incredibly appropriate and well-tuned to itself. Call It Off perfectly hits that folky sound and the folky emotion, bringing together everything these two have ever made and everything that they will become post-record. And I would not take the con in any other form, though I do feel like a lot of these songs play very well on their own. And while 14 tracks may be a little exhausted for this concept, starts to feel a little much, but it is one of my favorite albums from the mid-2000s and one of the most emotionally true albums that still hits incredibly hard with production that is just so perfect. The choices of where to put the synth, or how the piano sits in the track, or how the drums raise in and out of the acoustic guitar. The decisions on the production side are so incredibly strong that I don't think any other moment in time with any other hands by any other producers would have created something this powerful, this strong. The one thing that I can always praise Tegan and Sara for is having a very strong, identifiable thumbprint. And I fell out of love with their music because that thumbprint started to get smoothed out into just... And I will go so far to say that Tegan and Sara, The Con, will remain on my list of near perfect albums, near perfect listening experiences. Have you ever listened to Tegan and Sara's The Con? Are you a fan of the band? What is your favorite track off this? Let me know below. Tell me what other albums you would like me to retrospectively look at, and I will catch you on the flip side. Stay posy, stay swazzy, listen to some good shit. Okay, cool. I said I would keep this one short. Well, I didn't say that. I didn't promise it. I'm not promising that anymore. All these videos are gonna be long as balls.